Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. The Aurum Ascendancy were a species obsessed with elevation. On the rocky, barren world of Petra Prime, they built their fortress, the Spire of Polaris, atop the highest granite plateau. It was a marvel of defensive engineering. Its anti-aircraft batteries could swat kinetic bombardment slugs out of orbit. Its energy walls could withstand a nuclear impact on the surface. To approach the spire was suicide. Aurum High Commander Valerius looked down from his crystalline observation deck, thousands of feet above the rocky plains. The humans are pathetic creatures of the dirt, he mused to his subordinates. They scurry around the base of our mountain like insects. Their tanks break against our walls. Their jets burn in our sky. They have nowhere to go. Valerius made the classic mistake of an aerial species fighting a terrestrial one. He assumed that because he couldn't see the enemy they weren't doing anything. He forgot that for humanity the dirt isn't an obstacle. It's a highway. While the Aurum watched the sky, Commander Jeb Tunnel Rat Higgins of the Terran Combat Engineer Corps was 3 miles away and 500 feet underground. Higgins wasn't a soldier in the traditional sense. He was an ex-deep core miner from the asteroid belts. He didn't care about aerodynamics or energy shielding. He cared about torque, pressure, and moving rocks that didn't want to be moved. He was sitting in the pilot seat of the Gravedigger Mark 9 TBM, tunnel boring machine. It was a monstrous piece of equipment, a 500-ton cylinder of hardened steel, fronted by a rotating face filled with industrial diamond-tipped grinding teeth. It wasn't subtle. It was an earthquake with a steering wheel. "Seismic sensors are green, Commander," his co-pilot reported, their voice vibrating over the comms as the massive machine chewed through solid granite. "We are directly beneath the central foundation of their shiny little tower. The rock here is dense, but the digger is hungry." "Feed it," Higgins grunted, chewing on a stimulant stick. "Let's see how high and mighty they feel when gravity decides to cash in its chips." Above ground, the Aurum sensors began to register strange anomalies. Microtremors were shaking the foundation of the spire. "Commander Valerius, the seismic readings are irregular," an officer reported nervously. "It feels like localized tectonic activity directly beneath us." Valerius waved a hand dismissively. "Impossible. This plateau is geologically stable. It is likely just reverberations from their pathetic surface artillery hitting the lower shield walls. Maintain alert on the skyline." They kept looking up. Underground, Higgins and his fleet of 10 TBMs weren't just digging a tunnel. They were creating a honeycomb. They had spent 3 days hollowing out the bedrock directly beneath the fortress, turning the solid granite foundation into Swiss cheese, leaving only thin pillars of rock to support the billions of tons of gleaming alien architecture above. "All units, this is Rat King," Higgins broadcasted to his digging teams. "The trap is set. It's time to pull the rug out. Initiate final breach sequence. Full RPM on the grinding heads. Let's make some noise." 10 massive industrial machines revved their engines simultaneously deep underground. The sound was a low, terrifying groan that resonated up through the rock itself. Inside the spire's pristine central plaza, Valerius was addressing his elite guard when the floor began to scream. The polished marble cracked with the sound of thunder. The teacups on the tables rattled, then shattered. "What is happening?" Valerius demanded, grabbing a railing as the building violently shifted. The center of the plaza exploded upwards. It wasn't a bomb. It was the massive red-hot grinding head of the Gravedigger bursting through the floor like a chest-burster in a horror movie. Dust, rock, and debris filled the pristine air. The structural integrity of the fortress, compromised by days of secret drilling, instantly failed. The massive weight of the spire was now resting on thin air and churning metal. The foundation collapsed into the man-made sinkhole. The impregnable walls didn't need to be breached. They simply fell into the earth. Anti-aircraft towers toppled over like children's toys. The pristine white spire tilted violently, sliding down into the swirling dust cloud created by the human machines. Aurum soldiers in golden armor, masters of aerial combat, fell screaming into the churning pit of dirt and industrial machinery. Valerius stared in horror as his perfect fortress was swallowed whole by the planet itself. Higgins popped the hatch of his TBM as it breached the surface level of the now-ruined plaza. He climbed out, covered in grease and rock dust, coughing in the debris-filled air. He looked up at the leaning, ruined tower and the panicked aliens scrambling in the rubble. He pulled out a flare gun and fired a green signal into the dusty sky. "Surface team, the door is open," Higgins coughed into his radio. "Try not to trip on the mess." The Aurum Ascendancy surrendered within the hour. Their impenetrable fortress was gone, not because it was blown up, but because the ground it stood on had been stolen. The Galactic Council was baffled by the report. The humans hadn't used superweapons. They hadn't used orbital bombardment. They used mining equipment. The new military advisory regarding humans was short and terrifying for any species that preferred tall towers. When fighting, humans do not only guard the sky. They are creatures of the earth. If your walls are too high to climb and too thick to break, they will simply remove the planet from underneath your feet. If you cannot see them, assume they are already beneath you. Humanity had proven the ultimate subterranean HFY truth. You can build your castles as high as you want, but you still have to stand on the ground. And the ground belongs to the species that isn't afraid to get its hands dirty. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Can you dig it? We certainly can. If you enjoyed this victory from below, hit that like button. Comment below, what's the deepest hole you've ever dug? Subscribe for the next Front of the Boots of Terra. The Spore Walkers. The dust is settling. The fortress is fallen.